Hey guys, welcome here. Today what we're going to be working on is we're going to be working on the demo for the retro game. For this demo we're going to make a very simplistic version of like a Frogger or a Crossy Roads or something like that. So to start here in Scratch, what we want to do is we want to get rid of this cat. So we're going to click here, delete the cat. The next thing we want to do is we want to create our own backdrop. So to do that, you go choose backdrop, then you go up to paint. Now in here you have the full window, so we're just going to zoom out a little bit. And what I want to do is I want to create a rectangle, and I'm going to make it green because we're going to have a grass type. So you just go to fill, you click on fill, you choose the green you want, and now we just click in the corner and we fill it up with green. Alright, if you want to make it a bit bigger than the screen, you can. The next thing we need to do is we need to draw a road. So we're going to click the box again, and this time we're going to make it black. So you can just change the brightness all the way to the end. So that's 0 and you have black. Now we click here where we want to put the road. So now we have a road. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to add some lines. So click on here, click off a little bit, and then click on the rectangle. And let's go to yellow, and let's make our dividing lines here. So we're just going to make a rectangle, boom. Now if we want to have rectangles that are the same size, we can just go copy, so Control C, and then paste, Control V. I can either move it with the mouse, or I can use the arrow keys to line it up perfectly. Alright, now I want another one, so Control V again. I can move it with the mouse first, get it lined up about right, and then move it over, and now it's lined up good. Alright, so that is our first backdrop that we're going to use. So again, to do that, you just click on Choose Backdrop, Paint, and then just by using rectangles, we drew our backdrop. Now the next thing we want to do here is we want to say that we always want to start on this here. So we're going to go Control, or Event, sorry, one green flag is clicked, switch backdrop to backdrop number 2, which is this one here. We can delete the first one, we don't need it, all we need is this one here. So now let's go and add some sprites. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to all choose a sprite, and this is going to be our character that we're going to control. For this example, we're going to use the beetle. So let's double click on the beetle. We have the beetle here. That beetle's a little bit too big for what we need, so click on it once, go to size, which is down here in the properties, and let's change it to 40. So now it's significantly smaller, but that's okay. We're going to move it over to the side here. Now what we need to do is we need to add 2 cars. Now we have to draw them, and we're going to create 2 different sprites to do this. So to do that, mouse over, choose a sprite, pick on paint. Now you're going to notice this center kind of bullseye thing here. This is where you want to draw your car on top of. So let's pick a color we haven't used yet. So let's go this kind of aqua color. Pick a rectangle. Let's draw a rectangle over top of it. Now we can center it by simply just moving it over the center. Then let's add some wheels. So let's add a circle. Let's add some fuchsia wheels, or whatever color that is. Alright, so we go like this, then we can go copy, paste. And again, we're not so worried about what it looks like right now, because all we're trying to get at is, hey, how do I make my own sprites? And how do I design them? So here we go, here's sprite 1, here's our first car. So we have that, we'll move it down to where we want it to start. So we'll go sprite 1 here. Let's rename it car 1. Alright, so now we have our first sprite. Let's create another one. So we're doing the exact same thing. Mouse over choose sprite, go to paint. Then let's just do it in inverse of the colors. So let's draw a rectangle. Let's move it up to the center. Now let's create some circles, and let's do it that kind of that aqua color again. Let's draw the circles. Copy, paste. Copy, paste. Copy, paste. Alright, and let's rename this one car 2. Now the final thing we're going to do is we're going to create another sprite, and this sprite's going to determine if we've won the game or not. So let's go to choose sprite, let's go paint, and all we're going to do is have a rectangle. Let's change the color, let's make it something that will stand out. Oh, purple, that's nice. Now we're just going to make a simple little line here, like this. Let's go no outline for it. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to grab this, and we're going to put it here, and we'll call this end, or level end. Okay, so these are all the sprites we're going to need. Now we need to start doing some code. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a way, because in your assignment you need to restart your program. So an easy way to do that is to get all these sprites to be controlled by a broadcast instead of one green flag is clicked. So what we're going to do here is in, let's say, the level end, we're going to have the events and go when green flag is clicked, broadcast, new message, and we'll call it start game. Now, everywhere else, wherever I would normally use when green flag is clicked, I would use start game. So I can even go back to my backdrops and say, instead of green flag is clicked, when I receive start game, switch backdrop. There we go. Now let's go to our bug. Whenever we're going to make a game, or in this game, we have to figure out what is it that we need to do. Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to let our character move. Once we allow our character to move, we have to determine if he's hit the cars or if he's hit the endpoint. So we need to do some collision detection. Then we need to be able to say if you won or if you lost. So we need a point system. All right, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the controls of our little beetle going. So we're going to add when I receive start game. Now, because we want it to continually work, what we're going to need is we're going to need to use a forever loop. So let's go to control, forever, clicked it on there. Now, what we're going to need is we're going to need an if statement for each of the arrows. We're going to allow 4 ways of movement, so we need 4 if statements. Then within this if statement, we need 2 things. We need to determine if it's a valid move, so if it's within the area, and if the key was pressed. So what we're going to use for that is we're going to use an AND. If we used an OR, it would be one of the 2 would be true. But since we want both of them to be true, we're going to use an AND. So click on AND, drag it over. Then what we need to do is we need to sense. Are you touching, sorry, not are you touching, was the key pressed? So is the key pressed? Let's say this is our up arrow. Now what we have to do is we have to figure out which operator it's going to be. So here we have our bug, and we want this to be able to go up when the value of y is less than, let's say, we look here, we move our bug to the top and say, okay, that is about where we want it to go, so 165, let's say. So we don't want it to go any higher than that. So if so we go y position. If the y position is less than 165, we're going to do this. So if the y position is less than 165, so if 165 is bigger than the y position, we're going to let it go up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add in the move and change y by, let's say, 5 to begin with. Now let's see if this works. Let's press start. We go up, we can go up, we can go up, we can go up. Oh, we can't go any higher. Perfect. So now what we need to do is we need to do that for the other keys also. So we're going to need an AND, throw all our ANDs in here. Okay. Then we also need to change our Y's and our X's. So this one here will be our other, this will be our go down. So we're going to change Y by 5. Here we're going to change X because this is going to make us go to the right. And this one here will make us go to the left. So -5. And our down, sorry, will also be negative because we're going down, so -5. Now we got to go to sensing again and grab our key presses. So key press here, key press here, key press here. Now we don't have to use the arrows, but we can, and that's what I'm going to be using. But you can use any key you want. Okay, so this is our right, this is positive, and this is our left. So now we need the operators in here. Throw this one in here, throw this one in here, and throw this one in here. Now what we need to do is we need to figure out the math that goes with it. So if the down key is pressed and we want it to go down, then what that means is y has to be bigger than the bottom. So we put the y is bigger than, well, the bottom part that we can go down to is 160-ish, or 165, we'll say. Okay, so if that is bigger than negative 165, then we can go down. Let's test it to make sure it works. It goes all the way up, then it goes all the way down. All right, so that's got our x and y's, that's got our up and down arrows working right. All right, now for our right arrows. Let's go down to the operators. Sorry, not the operators. We were at the right spot. So we need the x variable. So for x position here, so if I'm going to the right, x has to be less than, well, the farthest we want it to go right is 220, let's say. Again, I just move it to where I want it to go, and I check here what the value is here. So we'll say 220. So if 220 is bigger than the x position, then we're good to move right. Now for the other arrow, we move it over here. Well, let's say to negative 220. So we go negative 220. Now we should test it out. Let's make sure it works. So I press start. I can go all the way to the right. I can go all the way down. Oh, what's going on here? Why is this not working? Oh, it's because we forgot to put in the value here. We don't have an x position. If x position is bigger than negative 220, then it will work. Oh, did you also notice that my bug didn't start where it was supposed to? Oh, no, that's another thing we better fix. So, what we also have to do is when we start the game, we always have to reset the starting point. Remember that? So we got to go and put that there, and also let's make it visible, just in case at some point we decide to hide it. So let's go show. So now when I click start, my bug starts where it's supposed to. It can go down, it can go back, it can go forward, but not too far. It can go up. And when I stop it and restart it, oh, look, it goes back there. So that's the first thing we did. Now what we're going to work on is the collision detection. All right, so to do collision detection, again, we're going to keep it all in the same for loop or forever loop. We could add a different forever loop if we wanted to. It's completely up to you here. So we're going to add a couple more ifs, two more, one for bad guys, one for good guys. So let's do our good one first. If touching, now this one here is called level end. We can see it from here. So if touching level end, we're going to get the person to say, I win. Now typically you'd probably do a broadcast here that would broadcast it to the next level, but here we're just going to say I win for simplicity's sake. Now here's where we're going to use an or, because we want to check to see if you're touching this car or this car. So let's go to sensing. So let's go to sensing, and then once we get into sensing, let's go to touching either car 1 or touching car 2. Now if it touches either of these two, the code in here will run. So what we want to do is if it touches either of those, we want it to say I lose, and we'll only get it to say it for a second. Now we also want to keep points. So what we want to do here is we want to go to variables. Now a variable is just simply a container. It holds stuff. So let's make a variable here, and we'll call this lives. And we'll do it only for this sprite. So now only this sprite can access this. And you'll notice it says that because it says beetle :lives. If it wasn't for just the beetle, it would just say lives. Okay. Now at the very beginning, we want to set lives. Let's say 3. Gives you 3 lives. Now every time you get hit by something, we're going to change lives by a -1. So now when I click start, let's check here. No, it says I win. Good. Let's see what happens here if I touch this car here. Oh, it's starting to become laggy. Okay. Oh, I lose. I lose. And now it's a little bit laggy. But you're going to notice there that it just stayed on there for a little bit. So what we need to do is we need to also, as soon as it says I lose, we need to move it. So let's, as soon as it loses, we're going to move it back to the start. So we're going to say go back to X, Y, whatever it is. Okay. Level end, let's say go back to X, Y also. So we want to go back to the starting point. Now we have our character, it determines if he wins or loses. Now with this bar here, you don't necessarily want to always see it. So what we can do is we can go back to costumes. We can figure out what color we used before. So the green, let's see, is that right? I don't think so, but we can try. And we can fill it with that color to make it disappear. Now you can hardly see it. If you want to get the exact color, you can always click on the background, check out, okay, what color is this? Oh, now it's disappeared because I changed the color of this by accident. Oh, it's all good. That's what we wanted anyways. All right, so let's go to the beetle. Let's go back to the code. Here we set the variable to 3, so if I click start, it's going to be back at 3. Okay, we can't see that this is there, but if we touch it, it still says I win. So the last thing we want to do now is we want to get these cars moving. Okay, so let's click on car 1. When car 1 is clicked, when the game starts, we want, when I receive start, we want the car to start where it is right now. So go to X, Y there. Let's go to looks. Let's go show. So we want the car to start here. And then what we want to do is we want to use a loop. You could also use wait until or repeat until. Let's use repeat until. Repeat until what we're going to do is this car gets up to here. So at this value here, the Y value is 138. Let's just make it 140. Okay, so repeat until the Y value is bigger than 130. And what do we want to do? We want the car to go up. So we're going to change Y by 10. Let's leave it at 10. Then, once it gets up to the top, we want to hide it. So we don't want to see it. We also want to broadcast a message, car to start. Car to start. Then, what we want to also do is move it back to the start. So hide it, move it, broadcast car to start. Now I notice I did something a little bit wrong here. We don't want this to necessarily start right when the game starts. What we want to do is we want to broadcast a message here. We want to broadcast car 1 start. This is so we can avoid doing some extra loops here. Now here, when I receive car 1 start, we're going to run this code. So I click start, and you'll notice the car goes up, and it disappears, and now it's back here. So the code for car 2 is going to be the exact same as car 1, except I'm changing the X positions, and I'm changing these things around. So what I can actually do is click on it, hold it, and wait for that thing to kind of shake a little bit. Once it shakes a little bit, I can drop the code in there, and now I just copied the code in here. So I'm going to change this to car 2 start. I'm going to change this to car 1 start. So what's going to happen is this car is going to get up here, it's going to broadcast a message to this car. Then this car is going to go up here, it's going to broadcast a message to this car who was up here but now it's down here. Then this car is going to appear and go up. Alright, so it's just going to be a constant cycle. Now this X is 51, so let's change this to 51. So it's a loop, but it's a loop between two different sprites. So this is 51. So now when I click start, let's hope this works. Oh, there we go. And now they're driving. They're alternating. Now the one thing we forgot is that when car 2 starts, what we want to do is we also want to add a when I receive start game, I want it to hide, and I want it to go to its starting location, which is 51, -133. So now when I click start, that one appears, that one doesn't, and I can move my guy across, and I can win the game and move on to the next level. Now, if I wanted to, I could add a command like press R to reset it. And what I want to show you is a different way to work with commands on keyboard commands. So if I go to events, I can always use this here when space key is pressed. Instead, I'm going to use R. There's R. And now what I can simply do is go broadcast, start game. If I click R, it restarts the game because everything is controlled by start game. So it can either start when I click the green flag, or it can restart when I click R. So that's a way to restart the game. Okay. I hope this was very informative. You now have your very own version of Crossy Roads or Frogger. It's not that great of a version, but hey, it is a version of it. So make sure if you have any questions or need any help, you send me a quick message, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.